Lesson 1.2, Powers and Exponents. In this video, you will learn how to write and evaluate expressions involving whole number exponents. A power is a product of repeated factors. The base of a power is the repeated factor. So in this case, the base is 3. The exponent of a power indicates the number of times the base is used as a factor. So the exponent is 4. And that is equal to 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, where the base 3 is repeated as a factor 4 times. Looking at the table, this is said as 3 squared, or 3 to the second. Similarly, 3 cubed, or 3 to the third, and 3 to the fourth. Example 1, writing expressions as powers. Write each product as a power. Question A, 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. Because 4 is used as a factor 5 times, 4 is our base, and our exponent is 5. Question B, 12 times 12 times 12. Because 12 is used as a factor 3 times, its exponent is 3. So we have a base of 12, and our exponent is 3. Write the product as a power. 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. 6 is our base, and it is used as a factor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, so our exponent is also 6. So that would be 6 to the 6th. Question 2, 15 times 15 times 15 times 15. Our repeated factor is 15. It is repeated 4 times, so our exponent is 4, and that would be read as 15 to the 4th. Example 2, finding values of powers. Question A, 7 squared. If I write 7 squared as repeated multiplication, that would be the same as 7 times 7. And simplifying that, 7 times 7 is 49. Question B, 5 to the third, or 5 cubed, written as repeated multiplication, would be 5 times 5 times 5, where 5 is my base and is used as a factor 3 times. Simplifying that, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. Example 3, identifying perfect squares. Determine whether each number is a perfect square. By definition, a perfect square is the square of a whole number. For example, a whole number such as 3, and if I square that, that would be the same as 3 times 3, which would equal 9. 9 is considered a perfect square. It is a square of the whole number 3. In looking at question A, 64, what we're really asking ourselves is there any number squared such that when we multiply it by itself as a factor 2 times, we will get 64? Thinking back to your multiplication tables earlier, we did 7 times 7 was 49, so we know it would need to be bigger than 7. So let's try 8. 8 squared would be 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is indeed 64, so 64 is a perfect square. There is a number that when you square it, a whole number that when you square it would equal 64. Let's look at question B, 20. Thinking back, we can see that 3 times 3 was 9. Let's try 4 times 4. That would be 4 squared. That's 16. 5 times 5 would be 5 squared. That's 25. And we can see that 20 would fall in between there. So there is no whole number that we could square to get 20. So 20 is not a perfect square. On this last slide, we are going to practice a bit more with finding the value of a power and determining whether a number is a perfect square or not. Recall that a power is a product of repeated factors, where the base of a power is the repeated factor, and the exponent of the power tells us the number of times the base is used as a factor. In question 3, 6 cubed, 6 is our base, and it is the repeated factor, and the exponent 3 indicates the number of times the base is used as a factor. So in this case, our base is 6, and it is used 3 times as a factor. 6 times 6 times 6. Grouping my first two factors together, 6 times 6 is 36. So now I have 36 times 6, which I'm going to calculate because I don't have that memorized. 6 times 6 is 36. Regrouping the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 more would be 21. So 6 cubed is equivalent to 216. Question 4, 9 squared. 9 is my base. It is the factor that is repeated 2 times because of the exponent 2. 9 times 9 is a basic fact. Everyone should know 9 times 9 is 81. Question 5, 3 to the 4th. 3 is my base. It is the factor that I will repeat, and I will repeat it 4 times because the exponent tells me so. Grouping my first two factors, 3 times 3 is 9. Carrying that multiplication down, and another 3 times 3 is 9. And I'm back to the basic fact of 9 times 9, which is 81. This should look familiar since we just got that same answer in question 4, which tells us that 9 squared and 3 to the 4th power both equal 81. On number 6, 18 squared. 18 is my base. It is the factor that is repeated 2 times. 18 times 18. I do not have that fact memorized in my head, so I will need to do that multiplication. 18 times 18. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 6 more is 14. 1 times 8 is 8, and 1 times 1 is 1. Adding those together, 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12, and 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. 18 squared equals 324. In questions 7 through 10, we are asked to determine whether the number is a perfect square. Looking at question 7, we have 25. Remember, the square of a whole number is a perfect square. So what we're really asking is there a whole number such that when I square it, I will get 25? Well, let's start with 4 squared. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. Not quite enough. Let's try 5 squared. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25, which matches our question. So our answer to this is yes. 25 is a perfect square because I can take the whole number 5 and square it to get 25. On question 8, I'm asking myself, is there a whole number such that when I square it, I will get 2? Well, 2 is a very small number, so I'm going to start with the whole number 1. 1 times 1 equals 1. That's not quite enough. That would be 1 squared. So let's try 2 squared, which would be 2 times 2. That equals 4. Now I've passed my target number of 2, so there is no whole number such that when I square it, I will get only 2. I started with 1. 1 squared was 1, and 2 squared is 4. So no, 2 is not a perfect square. Question 9. Is 99 a perfect square? Is there a whole number that, when squared, equals 99? Well, I'm going to jump, since we know from questions 4 and 5 above that 9 times 9, 9 squared, is 81. That's not quite enough. The next whole number would be 10. 10 squared would be 10 times 10. and that equals 100, which is too much. So no, there is no whole number that I can square to get 99. In solving number 9, we also solved number 10, 100. Is there a number such that when I square it, I will get 100? Well, yes, right here. 10 squared equals 10 times 10, which equals 100. So 10 squared equals 100. Yes, 100 is a perfect square.